Please come to order. Turn your cell phones off or on vibrate at this time. Good morning. Welcome to the joint meeting of the Commissioners of St. Mary's County and the St. Mary's County Metropolitan Commission. This date, Tuesday, November 2nd, 2021. I am Randy Guy, President Commissioner of St. Mary's County. I'd like to introduce the other commissioners. Sitting to my right, representing the 1st Commissioner District, which includes Ridge, Piney Point, St. George Island, Mr. Eric Colvin.
Good morning.
Representing the 2nd Commissioner District, which includes Leonardtown, Hollywood, Mr. Mike Hewitt.
Good morning.
Sitting to my left, representing the 3rd Commissioner District, which includes Charlotte Hall, 7th District, Golden Beach, and Mechanicsville, Mr. John O'Connor.
Good morning.
Representing the 4th Commissioner District, which includes Lexington Park, some of California, Great Mills, and some of Hollywood, Mr. Todd Morgan. Dr. Rebecca Bridget, our County Administrator, is seated at the table to my left.
Good morning.
Alisa Cassis, our Communications Director, is sitting at the table to my right.
Good morning.
Amy Carter, our Video Media Producer, is behind the glass. Joining us via Zoom is Chair of the Metropolitan Commission, Joseph Russell. Mr. Russell, would you like to introduce your other commissioners and make any opening comments and remarks?
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Hear you loud and clear.
Thank you. Okay, so thank you very much. So I'll introduce our other board members, and I'll do it by election district, if you will. Gerald Meyerman, election district 1. Mr. Meyerman's not going to be with us today. Mr. Roy Alvey, election districts 2nd and 9th. Myself for the election district 3. Mr. Dale Antosh, election districts 4 and 5.
Good morning.
Mr. Keith Dugan, election district 6. Mr. Bob Russell, election district 7. Keith Fairfax, and our vice chairman, the election district 8. And we have a representative from Pax River. It's not on with us today, Lieutenant Commander Lynch. So thank you, commissioners, for having the meeting. We always appreciate the opportunity to talk with you and to talk about some of the shared things that we do with both boards and in support of St. Mary's County citizens. So we do appreciate the opportunity. So Commissioner President Guy, commissioners, Dr. Bridget, and staff, thanks for the opportunity. And certainly Ms. Cassis, thanks again for allowing us to have this as a virtual meeting and setting it up in a way to make this successful. We last met on the 25th of May, and while it doesn't seem very long ago, certainly for all of us have been a lot of challenges. And to the credit of all, I think we've done a pretty good job of supporting not only our folks and our ratepayers, but certainly on the mutual projects to support all of St. Mary's County. We also will spend some time today, and I think this is a great thing with the efforts that we've done together for the upgrade of the St. Clements Shores wastewater treatment plant. There'll be a later conversation about that, so I won't go into too much of that, but we certainly appreciate the allocation that we may be able to get through the ARPA grant that you work with us on. So thank you for that. Also want to thank you for allowing us to work with you on some of the refinancing and refunding efforts we did on debt. That allowed us to save approximately $3 million on those debt service payments. Not a small thing for our ratepayers, and so we thank you. We also recently went through a CalVEX graded exercise, and we were very happy to participate in that with your staffs. And we always view those as a good thing because we learn a lot, and then we can take those lessons back and maybe make them better each time as we embed those lessons learned, if you will. We do want to thank you also, and particularly in this case, working with Gerald Gardner and Ms. Cassis. We were allowed to use, through the county EOC, your board to advertise our smoke testing program that we just recently embarked on in October. This board has, together with the commission, has decided that one of our primary objectives this year is to try to track some of the inflow and infiltration that's making its way into our system. Those inflows at times have called overflows, and additional treatment at our facilities that probably isn't necessary, and certainly we don't want the overflows. So in order to do that, we're methodically, and this will take some time, we're doing smoke testing across the system. The smoke testing is a very benign program. We know that you're aware of it. Just wanted to kind of call it out because constituents may be reaching to you asking why they're seeing smoke coming up in their yards, or potentially some smoke that might find its way into a house if there's a trap that doesn't have water in it, for instance. Again, the smoke is not harmful, but it does give us a sense of if there are parts of the system where we need to put our attention to close off some of that infiltration so that we can do a better job at managing those flows. So thank you very much. I will turn it back over to you. Again, looking forward to the conversations that we'll have this morning.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Russell, for that intro. And just people know out there in the public that we meet every 6 months with our Metropolitan Commission to provide the best services of both water and sewer to their customers, and to talk about their improvements, CIPs, and also budgeting and debt capacity and everything. So with that said, we'll go ahead and get right into our program, capital improvement projects updates. And I think Mr. Dietrich, he's Director of Public Works and Transportation, and Ms. Christy Hollander, also Chief Engineer for Metropolitan Commission. Welcome.
Sit right here, and you can spread out so we can see. Good morning.
You might want to grab a microphone, but you have to move over. There you go. Good
morning. We go. All right.
Try our social distancing. We're sorry about it. Still trying to do the best we can.
Fine. Right. I sometimes forget. Good morning, Commissioners. So this morning, Mr. Dietrich and I will be going over our coordination efforts between us and DPW. Next slide, please. So kind of in addition to our joint projects that we have, we also have some other efforts we're working through. We co-review projects, so if they have a project, we'll review it, and the other way around. We share all of our GIS data, that's all on the website at this time, all current and live. We share CIB, and we have recently set up quarterly utility coordination meetings to go over anything that might be coming up, things that might be coming around the corner. Next slide.
I'll go through FDR as it stands right now. Next slide, please. Phase 3A that was put under contract on October 27th. That'll go from Chancellor's Run to Buck Hewitt. Notice proceed issued for November 15th. The completion of that phase takes about 18 months, May 17th, 2023. It includes an 8-foot wide walk joint use path that extends the 3-notch trail along with extending the road itself. And 3B should go out to bid the winter of 23. And that'll go from Buck Hewitt to PEG. 3B, we've already started to purchase some of the properties, some of the hard to get properties, the larger pieces, the SMECO coordination we need to do at their big substation. And with the hotel, when we get close to Peg Road, that's all been launched. Some of the more difficult, excuse me, design decisions will be that are part of the coordination with SHA. The signal at PEG is still under review. Sorry, the allergies are acting up a little bit this morning. very interesting design feature on 3B is we're actually going to bridge over an SHA stormwater pond with a 3-notch trail in order to make that connection at Peg Road. And that, yes, so the other projects are being coordinated with that, Peg Road sidewalk, and as well as a number of other Buck Hewitt sidewalk work. So thank you very much. And so that should try to keep those projects so that we don't have to redo pieces. Probably the most advanced piece is still that joint solicitation where Metcom's work was bid along with ours. They'll be out there in the field with us, side by side, coordinating the work, reviewing, making sure that Metcom work, which of course is mostly the early part of the contract work, will be done properly so that we have a good solid base to put the roadway on. So feel pretty comfortable about that right now. Next slide. So Southampton project is...
Mr. Dietrich, let me back up just a second. So does Metcom expect to start in the fall of...
Same time.
I'm sorry?
We're starting at the same time. It's a joint contract, one contractor.
I've had some people reach out to me and ask me what the impacts are going to affect. You're going to be doing... are you doing any groundbreaking work during the winter, or are you going to wait until the spring?
Have we received a schedule from the contractor yet?
Okay.
I don't believe we have, so
You using the
possibly-
same contractor?
Same contractor, yes,
I
sir.
think what we were told is that we can expect the land clearing to go on in the fall and the actual groundbreaking. That came from Alan Settle.
Yeah, more than likely, that's how
Okay,
it's
thank
going to go through. Yes, sir.
All right. Southampton is going to be another joint solicitation project. Just to give you a little bit of an update, though, before we get into Southampton, on Patuxent Park, we don't have any slides in there this year because Metcom's work is already totally completed, and we will complete the DPW&T work by mid-December. The work remaining is the end section of Saratoga and Franklin Road, just wrapped up Midway, which of course is the long connecting road that goes through that subdivision. So please do go out and visit it. Really
Mr.
an
Dietrich, I'm sorry to
outstanding
interrupt you
project.
again. You're saying that Patuxent Park's going to be done by Christmas?
Correct.
Oh, man, that's a Christmas present for those people.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
It's these neighborhood revitalization projects are never easy because basically everything has to be done, and during the process, and the streets are narrow. Southampton's has an even more restricted right-of-way than Patuxent Park did. Some of the sidewalks are actually going to be on easements on people's property because we didn't have enough right-of-way to get an ADA sidewalk in. But that's particularly important because the dense neighborhoods, people want to get out, they want to walk, they want to ride their bikes, and it's just ties the whole neighborhood together so much better. So right now we're at 80% plans. We'll get a review set mid-November. We'll have the complete 100% plans in February, and of course Metcom is reviewing that at the same time we are making any necessary adjustments. The critical property is already, we're already proceeding on that. Just like Patuxent Park, stormwater is a big challenge whenever you have small lots. you don't really have in narrow right-of-way, you don't have much of an opportunity to do what's called ESDs, which breaks down the stormwater facilities into small pieces. There will be 2 large community stormwater devices that are going to be built that DPW&T will be responsible for. Those will all be done during phase 1, so that work will be taken care of, and which is some of the more significant. That'll also help with the stormwater management during the actual construction project. Currently, there's absolutely no stormwater management. There's ditches, there's, the area is very wet, very flat. If you walk around Old Carver School, you kind of sink in if you get off the sidewalks. So that's one of the things that we hope to tackle on that. So I'll throw it to Christy.
Sure, and again, this, as the joint project, we have the same designer, so that helps coordinate efforts in design, making sure we don't have water lines over top of storm drain. So that's a good coordination effort. Again, our design is at 80% as well. Our phase 1 is scheduled to begin construction in the fall of '22, with the other phases following. At this time, Metcom will not have a phase 3. As we don't have any utilities in that section that need replacement. It's going well.
Okay. Yep, next slide. And Christy, I think you're launching
Yep.
that one.
Shangri-La. So we have kind of joint projects along Shangri-La. They won't be done technically together. We're going to come through and do our water main work first, and then you guys are going to come through in your sections and do your sidewalk and overlay projects. Right now, we are working on the section between 235 and FDR Boulevard. That's our phase 1 section. We will be sub-phasing that section in order to coordinate the work the DPW has planned for that area. So this section between Great Mills Road and Willows Road will be our phase 1A. Phase 1B will be the section between Willows and FDR Boulevard. Then we will move up to the section between 235 and Great Mills. Phase 2 will begin at FDR Boulevard and run all the way through South Essex up to Great Mills Road. We will be replacing the aging water main in that area. And then we'll be paving sections we're required to, and then the county will come through and repave the areas they have scheduled for overlay.
Okay. On this slide's a little hard to see, of course, but this is a very important project, the sidewalk retrofit and side path that links Great Mills Road with Lancaster Park. And the key to this is that we can start Willows and do the Willows Road section while Metcom is proceeding on their work. As soon as they clear the section from Great Mills up to Willows, then we'll step in and do our piece that follows South Shangri-La and get that in place. Right now, there's really no ADA accessible sidewalks. There's short sections of walk with telephones in the middle of the sidewalk, and it's just very difficult. There are lots of people that walk along there, and making that link to Lancaster Park, and I think is a really critical improvement that will just enhance the quality of life for that Great Mills Lexington Park area.
So, Mr. Teacher, if I've heard you guys correctly, you're saying that the project will start, we'll have a sidewalk will run from Great Mills Road down Willows Road. How far?
It goes from Great Mills to Great Mills along South Shangri-La to Willows, and then Willows to Lancaster Park. And then we're considering further extensions of that in the future.
Thank you.
So those, the dates, Phase 1, the Willows Road sidewalk, design's completed. We don't need property, so the construction will start as soon as we get a break in the weather in next year. Phase 2, South Shangri-La, the design's completed. We reviewed it with the fledgling business association in that area that Department of Economic Development's put together. We attended the meeting and took a lot of questions on that, had a display table. So we think we should be able to get started with that towards the end of next year. Of course, it all depends on how Metcom's work goes, but it'll be a great relief for that community to get the water main and the sidewalk in. Long time coming. Phase 3, Essex Drive, basically, we're just going to overlay that after Metcom does their water main installation.
All right, so our Phase 1 is at 95%. Also, our design for Phase 2 is also at 95%. We will be putting those out to bid, or Phase 1 out to bid this winter, with hopefully an award in the spring. And then Phase 2 will continue right after Phase 1 is complete.
Okay, next slide, please. So these are just pictures of some of the work. Pine Hill Run Road, that, of course, was a long time coming. This first, this paving of this section, the first phase of the Metcom work, getting the speed humps in and so forth, very happy to get that done. So the other pictures are kind of illustrative of the work that we're doing with Metcom, which I think are all great stories. Mm-hmm. So Breton Bay.
Or Town Creek is the next slide. So this is Metcom's phasing for Town Creek. We have 5 phases right now. We have complete Phase 1, which is the blue section. We are now under design for the green. That's 95%, and again, we'll be hopefully get that out in the spring. There were 2 speed humps that were needed, and on Spruce, 2, or sorry, there were 3. 2 are installed, and there's 1 additional that's just over the Section 2 line. So that will be done once we're complete by the county. The next phase we'll actually be working on, we're skipping back to Phase 5, which is a section all the way in the back. That area is the oldest, and we're having a lot of issues with that aging infrastructure, so we're going to kind of skip back to Phase 5 and then do 5, 4, and 3 once Phase 2 is complete.
Ms. Holler, tell me.
Yes, sir.
In the green section, that's spruce and maple, that area up that way?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so, because we get a lot of requests from people saying that their water's running down the road and they have low water pressure. That's the one you're...
That's the next phase, yes, sir. That should be going out to bid in the next few months, so they should start work in the spring.
And when would you think it'd be ready? The end of
So
this
it'll
time
be a
next
year construction, so spring
Spring of 23?
Through 23.
23,
Okay.
yes.
On this water main replacement, have any of the hydrants moved?
Some of them may. We send all of our designs over to the fire department, and they make sure if a hydrant is needed in another location that it kind of gets moved around a bit, so we do coordinate with them as well.
Okay. And then the speed humps, when they're in, do you let the fire department know that where the location are, the speed bumps, so they mark
That
for
would
them?
be the county would coordinate that.
They're more close to Mr. Fairfax on that,
Yeah,
trust
that's
me.
all. Yeah. All right, cool. Thank you.
Right, yeah, Spruce Drive, we have some speed hump work to do left there, so looking forward to
Someone had
getting
reached
that.
out and said there was a speed bump they thought was going to be placed there. They live right off that road. They reached out to me about a week ago and said that they thought there was the painting had been done for the speed bump to, because he said he watched watched Metcom, I guess, or the county go in and paint 3 different spots. They ended up in 2 spots. So I asked him to reach out to you, Mr. Dietrich. I gave him your number.
Yeah, well, there's still 1 to go, but Metcom still has work to do there.
Okay, so you're waiting for Metcom to finish their work.
Correct.
Okay, got it. All right, thank you.
Next slide is our...
This is a comment, it's a speed hump, not a speed bump.
Right. Good
Okay,
point.
so St. Clement Shores water main replacement, our Phase 1 is now complete. Phase 2 is almost under construction. We are working with the contractor to issue the NTP hopefully this month. The construction sign is up, and we are working with the community to make sure that they're aware of when we're coming in, they want all this work done as much as we do. Unfortunately, this project was delayed by MDE funding and approvals. So we're working to get that going and get that done so we can move out of that community and they can have their roads repaired.
Ms. Hollander, Mr. Miles and Mr. Polk have reached out to me regarding that, and they were hoping that the notice to proceed, which they thought would happen in, July, and would now happen in September. When we had our meeting here with them, they said we moved it to November. What we're hearing now is that your supplies aren't there. What's the issue?
So all their submittal have been reviewed and approved, so all their materials, what they're looking to purchase have been, but they are having issues with supply of the material, of actually getting the material on site from their suppliers. So we are working with them to try to figure out if we could maybe change materials. We've looked at that. Unfortunately, with the way materials are, it's hard to get anything.
Okay, I guess what we had heard was there was a difference between the cost when this project was first brought out and the cost now.
Sure, and that's another issue, but that's not what's holding anything up right
good,
now.
so-
The issue is they just can't get the materials.
Okay, all right, so supply chain, whatever
Yes, sir.
that term is. All right, thank you.
Right, and of course, we're working hand in glove with Metcom on that, and we'll get in and pave it as soon as we can. If there's temporary work that has to be done, we'll work with Metcom to make sure that's done, and we'll definitely be watching the temporary restorations to make
Right.
sure that they're done properly and that they hold up.
Potholes, they're worried about potholes.
Absolutely.
And then Breton Bay, this is again another Metcom water system replacement project. Right now, the green section, which is our Phase 1, is under design. We're approximately at 30% design. Our construction funds are available the summer of '22, so as soon as those construction funds are available, we should be ready to go. So we're coordinating with the county on any pavement projects they may have, and coordinating that effort to make sure the streets when we leave are as good, if not better, than when we came in.
Right, and we're just as we did it with Comico, if it's necessary to go out and pave a road because Metcom's work is going to be 2 or 3 years out, we'll go ahead and put an inch on it to try to improve the road quality if there's the right quality, if there's pavement breaking up or whatever.
I know you mentioned Wacomico, but hopefully you meant St. Clement Shores.
Yes.
In Wacomico, we also paved
do
a
you?
road that there was going to be some delay in Metcom doing their work.
I know St. Clement Shores are like an inch of asphalt, too.
Right. St. Clement Shores, same issue, though.
Okay.
Next slide.
Right. So other projects of interest, Buck Hewitt 4, we're going to do the Metcom work with our project. So that's actually county funds is going to do that piece of the work, and it's wrapped into the overall contract. Buck Hewitt North, there's no Metcom conflicts in that project, and that'll proceed without any Metcom work being done. Wildwood Boulevard sidewalk and right turn lane, DPW&T we haven't found any Metcom issues with that, and we're proceeding with that design work, and we'll get that under contract. Peg Road sidewalk retrofit, design's underway, no conflict issues with Metcom. Pine Hill Run Road, Metcom, sewer project, which we're coordinating our paving efforts with Metcom on that, and we actually shared cost in the recent paving that was done out there, and it is done. So very
It does look
happy
nice.
with that. That turned out, at the end of the day, turned out really well. Wacomico, as I mentioned, we're kind of hopscotching around there with Metcom. They have Golf Course Drive has a lot of Metcom problems on it, and that's one we're watching, and we may have to do some temporary work up there, but again, working with them about the restorations. It's not mentioned on the slide, but in Hickory Hills, that smoke testing that was mentioned during the introduction, Metcom's doing that, finding some problems where pipe separations taken place. We are working on the stormwater system in that neighborhood. We have somewhat similar problems with the stormwater system. We think we're probably going to have to do pipelining, and we've videoed our pipes and located those locations. There are people with a lot of sinkholes in their yards over the stormwater system, somewhat similar to some of the Metcom pieces. And so again, we're trying to work with each other on that. There's both sidewalk repair that'll be necessary as well as roadway repair. So I feel we're pretty much together on that one. I think, and I really appreciate that because we don't want to have to redo any of the finished surface courses or sidewalks twice. So thanks again.
So the next slide, we'll briefly go over the St. Clement Shores wastewater treatment plant upgrade. This project is moving forward, as everyone knows, in this November, so hopefully this month, we will be receiving MDE's concurrence with the concept plan. Once that's approved, we will move into final design, which will hopefully be complete January 2023. Construction to follow, and hopefully complete and ready for new connections by the spring, summer of 2024.
Okay, on that subject, I got a call from Frank Phillips with the board of the Brenton Bay Golf Course.
Yes, sir.
And of course, they've had this idea that maybe they can get some EDUs to do something up there for them to survive. They were lucky enough with the COVID, when it hit, obviously their operation was impacted. Point was, is they got a lot of that 300 and some thousand from that PPE money or whatever money that's called, and that got them through. But they are saying that they had a dam issue out there that was leaking. They mitigated that by lowering the level of the dam, and they've kind of gotten that out of the way. But they're really concerned about their ability to survive. So he asked me what was their chances of getting EDUs in the plant. And I told him, I don't know. What should I tell him next time he calls me?
So the county, if I remember correctly, and George, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, there was a resolution put together of how the EDUs would be distributed once the plant was upgraded. So the first wave of people obviously would be those that have existing homes that are in failure. And then the second would be for those that have vacant lots. So they would fall,
Somewhere
if I
in
remember
there.
correctly, in that category.
So should I tell them like 2 years? I'm just trying to give them an idea of what they should expect.
I don't know if it had timing. I mean, the construction for the treatment plant will be done in the spring of '24.
Okay.
I'm not sure how the distribution of EDUs will be, the timing of that.
But the treatment plant should be upgraded by 2024.
Yes, sir.
I'll tell them that.
Yes, sir.
And last slide, please. Which is just, any further questions, comments?
I have one, please. Not really CIP, but Metcom related. We've been working hard on cleaning up Lexington Park. and spent a lot of money down there to fix, revitalize, et cetera. Yet we have a pump station between Kenny's Forest and Church of the Ascension that hasn't been touched in years. We got the Burger King cleaned up across the street. We've got the little parallel road to Great Mills Road working nice. The church has cleaned up its properties from situations at hand. So my question is, what can we do, since Metcom's pumping station is right there, about getting that grass cleaned up, making the area look a little bit better? Because it's, if we discuss blight and we talk about the neighborhoods and all that stuff, we address that.
Sure.
But you've got the pump house sitting there, and it's just a mess.
We'll look into that. It's CIB time at our office, so we will take that into consideration and see.
Well, I don't know if it's CIB so much as somebody cutting the grass. I mean, you contract.
Obviously, maintenance.
Everyone in
can
your
be done.
maintenance sites, I know who the guy is that cuts the grass. He's out there religiously, cuts the grass, trims it, edges it. Yep, that piece on Great Mills Road looks like it's just disgusting.
Sure, we'll take care of it.
Thank you.
Anything else, commissioners? Any questions for
No, good presentation.
good presentation? And thank you very much for the progress, and hopefully we can speed it up. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay, next, we're going to talk about debt capacity. Ms. Cudmore, our CFO for the county, is here to give us an update.
Good morning, Commissioners and Metcom Board.
Morning.
Well, this is a long time coming, isn't it? On the first slide, the next slide. Thank you. After the legislation session in 2017, when we requested bond authority, our debt was actually combined at that point. The county was actually at 2% on their debt alone, and then after the session, we were combined based on the recommendation from the legislation delegation that we be combined, and then our limit was at 2.15%. And this combined debt capacity on this page was actually started with the FY18 budget. So with this, you can see, let's look at FY22, the one that's boxed in. We took our assessable base, we multiplied that times to 2.15%, and we got our legal debt limit, which was $293 million. Then we, with our combined debt, you can see down below of $231 million. That reduced from our legal debt limit provided the debt margin. And above the debt margin was our percentage now combined. So you can see in 22 we were at 1.7%. And then all the way down, if you go to 2027, you can see that we went to 2.12. And actually in 2026, we were at 2.14, which really, I guess, tightened up the belt for both county and Metcom. So we were limited in the projects and the margin. We had the flexibility. We were able to do our plans as far as the projects that we needed to do, but it was very tight. Next page. So after this prior legislation, we had Chapter 510. The percentage was changed from 2.15% combined to 3.15%. We got an extra percentage, which really made a big difference. County received 60% of that, and 40% went to Metcom. So on this first highlighted A, you can see that's where we went from the 2.15 to the 3.15. And also, that is for our real property, and then we have a percentage of 5% on the county's assessable personal property and operating property of a public utility. Okay? And this is all from Chapter 27, which is the financial operation for the county. Then on the next page, we go to, if you can go back a page, thank you. B, it says all bonds and evidences of indebtedness are to include the Sanitary Commission. So that means we're to include Metcom with this 3.15%. And then down D, below, that's where it says that Metcom is to receive 40% of the limit of the 3.15%, and the rest remains with the county commissioners.
On behalf of all of us, I want to thank you and the delegation for getting this thing built through last year, making it law and codifying it and straightening things up.
Yes, I totally agree. I mean, there was a lot of people involved in getting to this process, and yeah, we made a lot of progress. And then now, after 5 years, wow, 5 years, right? I remember Commissioner O'Connor saying, you know, when I brought back that first debt capacity combined, he said, I knew this is how you were going to do it. So,
Right.
and now you know that we're separating them. So what we did is after 5 years, we have now, the county has removed Metcom from their debt capacity. We have two calculations for the county based on Chapter 27. Our share of the 3.15% is 1.89%. So it's still lower than where we were before, but it's better than where we just came from after 5 years. And that's on the real property assessment. And then 5% on the personal property and utilities assessment. That had actually always been a part of Chapter 27, but we didn't include it in our calculation. Now, after talking to the policy analyst up in Annapolis, they said, yeah, you really need to include it. So, I mean, so it did bring a correction that needed to be on our actual debt capacity. So then based on the current plan, using the assessment from SDOT, our outstanding debt as a percent, we go from FY 22 through 27, we range from 0.91% to 1.42%. And then on the next slide, you can see the county's new debt capacity. So you can see, let's look at 22 again, well, 23 that has the box. You can take, we start with the SDAT for the real property, and you can see that's 13.6, and that has grown based on the average for the last 3 years, so we're growing it by 2.5% for each fiscal year. Then we have our personal property and utilities assessment, and you can see that it's 315, and that's actually grown by 1.5%. So the separate calculations have been applied to those assessable bases, so you can see the county applies the 1.89% to the 13.6 and the 5% to the 315. And then our total limits are added together, and that brings it to 274. And then that is actually our total limit. And then you reduce our new debt, and you reduce what our potential borrowing is going to be, and that brings it down to our debt margin at $117 million.
It's a lot more
and
leeway.
that percentage, yes, it does. It's a lot more flexible, and
But tell me, Ms. Cudmore, I see you went from negative 0.8 for the personal property and utilities assessments to 1.5.
Yes.
That's a 2.3% jump.
well,
What
I
was-
looked at, when I did that 2023 and the growth, I looked back to the last 3 years. So that is just how it reduced in 0.8 with a negative in 22, but the other 2 years in 21 and 20
They were up.
actually were higher.
Okay.
To give us the combined for the 1.5.
So we're
going
seeing as a
forward.
blip in the screen, the blip went down versus up.
It does, and that's why we look at trend, because
Okay.
1 year might be low and 1 year might be high. And we know when you have a higher year, it's not sustainable, just
I
like
know
how
tracking
we...
that utility assessment's an important function of this debt capacity.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then when we receive our updated assessment in November, at the end of this month, I guess it's actually November, we'll have that information and we'll update the debt capacity when we come back, probably at the next budget work session, after today's budget work session. Okay, so that brings it down. So you can see our debt margin starts at $142 million and goes all the way in 2027 to $82 million. So we are using more and providing more debt, and that's increasing it. So at 2027, it's 1.42%, well below the 1.89%. Greater flexibility for the budget. So on the next slide, we talk about Metcom. Metcom's also got two calculations. Their calculation is based on, actually, we receive an annual, a debt ceiling limit analysis from Metcom. Thank you, Patty. And that provides what Metcom's assessment's going to be that they use, and also what their projected debt is going to be for the outgoing years. And again, both the counties and Metcom's debt capacity starts with the final debt in the current audit. Okay? So on the Chapter 27 calculation, on the county's real property assessment, SDAT, 1.26% of that is for Metcom. So the outstanding debt as a percentage of the base ranges from 0.65% to 0.64%. Again, remains below the 1.26%. Then the other calculation for Metcom is based on Chapter 113, and Metcom's assessment, they use the Maryland Department of Planning because it removes sanitary districts 7 and 9. There's no facilities, okay? And then the outstanding debt as a percentage of base ranges from 0.71% to 0.75% for those years, and it remains below the 2% limit in 113. Okay. And then you'll see on next slide, this is Metcom's final debt capacity. And again, I have the two separate calculations. At the top is the county chapter 27. And then in the middle, we start with the Metcom chapter 113. So each year, like I said, we'll receive a new updated debt ceiling analysis from Metcom. Probably, I guess it's around January, we'll start receiving it to get ready for the CIB that they prepare. And then we'll update their debt capacity for them and have it reviewed with Patty and George Erickson. And that is it. Are there any questions?
Well, actually, I think this is, I echo Commissioner Morgan's, this is a lot of hard work, and this really has given us flexibility moving forward.
For both
Now,
boards.
Yeah, no, it looks like for at least 5, maybe 10 years, and that's a great thing. Now tell me, maybe Mr. Erickson or Ms. Hollander would be better asked, what's Metcom's growth in EDUs? How's that? I know we used to,
That's a George question.
that's a George question.
Approximately 2% per year is our current trend.
Okay, that's been your trend? Now, what's that mean number-wise?
In terms of,
Is that 50, is that 100, is that 200?
oh, it is approximately 80, I forget on the water side, it's 80 to 100 on both the water and the sewer side separately.
Well, I guess my point is that's better than what it has been. What about your undrawn debt? How you doing on that?
Very well on the undrawn debt. We're down from 50 million down to about 5.
Good job, sir. Good job. I remember 7 years ago that 50 million had this commissioner concerned, and having it down to 5, thank you.
Between 5 and 6, but it's
Okay.
one project.
Five sounds
That's the
better.
other good news, that represents one single project.
When's your Hickory Hills water tower kicking in?
Good question. So it's a series versus parallel kind of project. So first the tower is built. There's a well that goes along with that. Once the well is drilled, which it currently is in the process of being drilled, then you fill the tank. Once you fill the tank, it has to get tested for potability, and that comes through the state. Once that happens, then you transfer all the cell tower providers or the cell providers over to the new tower, and then you demolish the old tank. So we're looking at getting the new tower online sometime in January, February. And we did a press release in June that set that timeline out, and we thank
Okay,
the county for...
so it's November. You're talking 3 to 4 months?
Correct.
When you taking the old tower down?
Right after that.
So by summer, that thing should be gone?
Yes, sir.
Oh, that'd be an improvement to that neighborhood, sir.
Yes, it will.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Commissioners? Thank you very much, Ms. Cudmore. Great presentation. Appreciate
Thank you.
it.
Thank you very much.
Now we're going to talk about Citizens Academy. Dr. Bridget and Mr. Erickson are supposed to be involved in that.
Thank you, Commissioner President Guy. Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning, the Metropolitan Commission board members. National Association of Counties developed the outline for Citizens Academy in 2015. St. Mary's County initiated the program in 2016, holding annually thereafter until last year we canceled because of COVID-19. The sessions are held in the fall on Tuesday evenings at various locations for 9 weeks. So far, we have over 100 ambassadors that have participated in the program. In your packet and on the screen, thank you, Ms. Casas, is the brochure for this year's Citizens Academy for reference. The Academy is open to county residents 18 years of age and older. The class is usually limited to about 25 persons to allow for adequate space at multiple locations and the opportunities for a show and tell, if you will, at our departments, such as heavy equipment or the touring of the 911 center. The St. Mary's County Citizens Academy provides an overview of county programs and services. Participants gain a better understanding of county government operations by learning from directors and staff from the county administration. Is our opening night where Central Services opens the academy. That's finance, IT, legal, and the PIO office. Then comes the Department of Aging and Human Services, Economic Development, Land Use and Growth Management, Recreation and Parks, Public Works and Transportation, and Emergency Services. At the request of Metcom and Mr. Erickson, a good suggestion was made this year to be included in the formal program and to include our community partners in Citizens Academy. So as a result of the effort and the positive feedback, we added a partner night this year. So we wanted to thank the Metcom board and the commissioners for your support of the Citizens Academy, because tonight wraps up our Citizens Academy with partner night. In addition to Metcom, we will include the Health Department, the library, the Sheriff's Office, and the Department of Social Services to the lineup. The community partners are a vital part of our successful county operations, and we certainly thank them in advance for their participation for tonight's academy. The recognition ceremony is scheduled for November 16th at the Commissioners' meeting for our Citizens Academy participants.
So 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
So with that summary, I turn it over to Mr. Erickson to add any remarks.
I don't have much to add. As former DPW director, when was that? Several years ago. This is the 6th year of Citizens Academy. I was happy to be one of the presenters on behalf of the county, and now it's nice to be recognized as a partner along with several other organizations this year to have a dedicated night so that we can do a bunch of different things. One is the opportunity to tell each other and the citizens that are participating what it is we do, whether it be the Health Department, the Office of the Sheriff, or the Metropolitan Commission. It puts a lot of faces to some of the conversations that have had over years. It's amazing who comes through the Citizens Academy. It's usually citizens who are very interested in knowing about county government. A lot of times we see emails and letters, but we don't see their faces. So it's a really good opportunity to bond and get some new friendships. So we're really looking forward to it, and we hope this partnership program continues onward from this point forward.
Thank you. Anything else, Commissioners?
Having attended the Citizens Academy, I can testify to the effectiveness of it and how great it is, and I think this is a good addition, having the partners. And I've heard good reviews already this year from some of the participants, so thank you. Thanks
And
for
that
being a
partner
part.
night is tonight, 6 to 9.
Yeah. Very good.
Great. No, I think it's a great program because it opens eyes up to people about what really goes on in our county government. A lot of them black people just don't realize the scope of work that we have to do to provide for our people. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll throw it down to our closing remarks now. Mr. Russell, you'd like to make any comments at this time, sir, for our closing remarks?
Well, thank you. And again, Commissioners, thank you for the opportunity for the two boards to meet. I always think it's a very constructive time to talk about the mutual things that we do and the way that we work together, and sincerely appreciate the staff that work together on a daily basis that are out serving the county folks as they do every day. So thank you. Also want to, again, thank you for the very hard work that was done to get the debt capacity decoupled. It is an immense help to both of these boards as we move forward. Certainly working many of these projects with you all, but also trying to deal with some of the aging infrastructure and other problems that we have to try to make a better water and sewer system for our own folks. So thank you again. We look forward to the next meeting and appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And we're glad to be partnered with Metcom in providing these services to the people. It's very important to our infrastructure, especially within our development areas that we're trying to maintain and keep going. And it helps the citizens realize, this meeting will help them realize what goes through to get this done. I hope that many of them are watching and see the work that has to be done. When we put a pipeline down, what it takes to reconstruct the roads, the sidewalks, and everything. So we appreciate all the hard work and the coordination between us and Metcom. Thank you very much.
And I just want to jump in, Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
And thank Metcom also for the work that you've been doing. Most of the water and sewer projects are in the 8th and 4th district, depending on how you look at your maps. But there's been millions and millions of dollars of investment put into these programs, whether it be the water and sewer lines, whether it be the road refurbishments, et cetera. But it's both boards paying a lot of attention to Lexington Park to get its infrastructure up to par so that, more new investment can hopefully roll in down there. So thank you, Mr. President.
Anyone else?
Briefly, I also want to thank the Metropolitan Commission, their board, all the members and the staff, Mr. Erickson, one, for making sure that the messaging from the Metropolitan Commission has been clear and concise and has removed the rumor mill from our county, as well as ensuring that there's a level of transparency, accountability, and ethical practices across the board. Just an amazing job over the last several years, where you came from to where you are now. So I truly appreciate that, and it is recognized throughout the community. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Thank you very much, and I'd like to let everybody know that our next meeting is scheduled for May 24th, 2022. So put that on your calendar at 9 a.m. That's our projected meeting date at this time. We will adjourn the Metcom Commissioners meeting.